Hi there. Welcome to the Sunday Night Live. I'm Jo Zulaika, founder of Women Who Lead with Heart, and tonight's topic is a juicy one. I'm calling it empowered action versus fear, versus fearful action, or inaction out of fear. And this one might be kind of triggering. I might kind of go there with you a little bit, but that's what a good coach is supposed to do, is call you out sometimes. If you're fooling yourself or kidding yourself, or you need somebody to sort of stand behind you and hold your posture just a little bit taller. That's what a good coach can do for you. So when I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about the movie Star Wars. And I wonder if any of you out there are huge fans. I'm actually not. I haven't seen all the movies and I don't know all the things. But I love that one quote by Yoda in the very first movie that we saw, when we were teenagers, about doing versus trying. When he's trying to teach Luke Skywalker something, somebody school me in the comments and tell me exactly what that scene is all about. But when Yoda's trying to, he's giving Luke a lesson, and Luke's kind of plaintive and young and still not very mature. And he's like, I'll try. And Yoda sort of cuts him to the quick and says, not try. There's do or not do, but there is no try. And that sort of is one of those, kind of circular arguments you need to think about for a little while. You either do or you do not, but there is no try. What does that mean? If you're on the line with me now, send me an emoji or a heart or a hi or something. And if you're watching on replay, just give me a hashtag replay so I know who's watching. Give me a comment. So when we're talking about empowered action, we're talking about getting out of sort of this weaker, less mature, plaintive, wishing side of what we want. And it's where, perhaps those of you who are parents, or you can even think about yourselves, when you're not really committed to an action, you might be finding yourself saying, I try, I do my best, I tried, I'm trying. It's not easy, but I'm trying. My boss is really tough, but I try. Just notice where in your life that kind of wishful wanting exemplifies itself in less powerful language that you use. So hi Kate the Great. So you want to be just paying attention. Your language reveals so much about you. You are either committed to change, you're committed to a feeling, you're committed to an action, you're taking clear, defined action towards something that you want, or you're trying. I remember this actually quite poignantly when I wanted to get pregnant, and it wasn't going very easy for me. And I saw a variety of therapists that, focused on the body and on fertility and just trying to unlock whatever it was that wasn't working for me in that way. And I remember saying to a craniosacral therapist once, I'm trying. And she got so mad at me. It was like I triggered her, like I offended her. And she put this box of Kleenex on my chest. She goes, take the box of Kleenex off. I'm lying down on a table with her. And I was looking at her kind of like, you just got really intense with me. And she's like, do it. And so I did it. She goes, that's getting pregnant. You do it or you try to do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And it kind of stirred me up for a little while. Maybe she was channeling her inner Yoda as well. Happy to say that many, many years later and much more commitment down the line, I finally did get pregnant. But it took me to get all in. It took me to be all in and really go for it and look at under every rock and really look at anything that might not have been working for me before I was able to bring about that result in my life. And the reason why it took so long is because I was afraid. The harder it seemed for me to get pregnant, the more afraid I was that it would never happen for me. And when we're in fear, we're locked up. We're not taking empowered, expansive, inspired action. We're nervous that which we're doing is going to continue not to work. And that's a very disempowered place to be. So I used an example that had to do with my body, and many women would also channel that sort of example. Like you can say, I'm trying to lose weight, for instance, or I'm trying to, any number of things. I'm trying to tone my arms. I'm trying to eat more healthily. I'm trying to get more sleep. I try to meditate every day, or I try to work out every day. I'm trying to make myself a priority. I try to get to bed at an early hour. I try to get more sleep. I try to watch less TV. These are all confessions of where you're not committed. If you're giving it I know I should, and I'm trying, just hear that and really call yourself to the truth that while you might partially be committed to the outcome that you're claiming, you're not really completely committed. Does that make sense? Are you seeing how that's true? You're coming from this plaintive, wishing, hoping, someday kind of feel. This hedging. If you really were all in, you would be saying something completely different. You would be saying, I'm losing weight. I am eating more healthy. I am down 5 pounds on my way to lose 15 by summer to fit in a bikini. I am making myself a priority by going to the gym regularly. I am committed to standing up for myself more. I am speaking my mind at work. I am having more courage in meetings. Do you see the difference? You don't have to undercut it like maybe you're not always being courageous at meetings at work. Maybe you're not always eating healthily, but do yourself a solid and speak about yourself with care and make sure that it lines up with your intention. So there's two things going. You want to actually want what you're saying you want in a committed way. Do, not try, correct? You're following? And then you also want to give honor to the fact that you are doing, even if occasionally you're tripping up. Even if you didn't get to bed before 10 a.m. every day last week, you can still claim, I am getting more sleep. I am making myself a priority. My health matters to me. I think more about when I go to bed. I put my electronics away. So I'm trying to paint for you a picture of how much more solid and empowered that language is, that also reflects a much more solid and empowered commitment that comes from yourself to start with. So Yoda also says that that fear is the path towards suffering. That fear leads to hate, or fear leads to anger, which leads to hate, which leads to suffering. And I think that this is really what's happening for us, is that maybe we're afraid we won't look that great by summer. We won't fit into the bikini. Or we're afraid we're going to default on our commitment to ourselves to be healthier in other ways. Or that we might not ever get pregnant. And so it's painful to claim that you are actually putting all of your energy, all of your you're betting on red. You're saying, I'm all in and this is what I want. This is what I'm going for. It ups the ante on failure. And when we're aware that there's failure as a possibility, it tickles fear. So a lot of this hedging conversation that comes from us arises from fear. Fear that we are not going to follow through. Fear that we will default on our commitments. Fear that we'll come up short. That we won't get what we said we wanted, that if we were to claim the high hilltop as our goal and we didn't reach it, we would make it worse somehow. And I'm here to hold a vision for you that's higher than maybe you are holding for yourself, which is another thing that a coach does, is to say, you don't have to live in that fearful mindset that keeps you small, that keeps you from reaching for the higher rung, that keeps you from daring to go for what you really want and to claim it, starting with your commitment and your language. Do not try. You kind of can't worry about, well, what happens if I don't achieve it? You've got to not let the fear keep you from approaching that which you want. You got to go into it. You got to say to yourself, I think the reason I'm speaking that way is because I'm kind of afraid. I'm kind of afraid that I'm not up for that challenge, or I'm afraid that it will be hard, or I'm afraid I don't know how to, or I'm afraid if I claim that that's what I'm going to do and I don't get it, I'll be humiliated or I'll humiliate myself. Whatever it is, claim it. Go into the fear. Figure out what it is that has you sort of hedging and keeping yourself apart and away from robustly grabbing it, from claiming it, from saying it, from committing to it, from taking action. What is keeping you from being assertive towards that which you say you want and deciding that you're going to go get it? To taking action today that takes you a little bit further, closer towards what you say that goal is. What is it that's keeping you in a someday feel as opposed to a right now feel? Not as in, I'm going to manifest it in a second, but I'm moving that way. I'm making the decision to go that way. That's empowered action over fear. So if you can figure out what it is that's got you snagged and holding back, then you know where you have to go looking. You got to go straight in there and ask yourself, what about this has me gripped, afraid, feeling like I'm going to fail, afraid of what might happen if. Grab a journal and write it down. Coming into awareness of that is your first step towards sort of metabolizing it and getting it out of your system so that you can get on with the business of getting your goal and moving towards that which you say you want, that which you truly want. Is this resonant for you, or is this sort of like out in your blind spot? It could be sort of triggering. Sometimes our fears keep us safe. Sometimes when somebody calls us out on being afraid of something, we want to defend it because we feel comfortable with the narrative we've created about our lives and the ways in which we've come to compromise or feel like what we've got is good enough. But I'm here to help you see that there's probably a larger truth for you. There's more for you out there, and that you can go out and get it. You might need the help of a coach, and that's the work that I do. I empower women leaders to figure out what's triggering them, where they're holding themselves back, what actions they can take to step forward. They fix their internal environment first, and then they go out and are the most magnificent, magnetic leaders out there because they started from within. That's my Sunday night message for you. Go well.